She go. Sorry about that. All right. Everything's on. Okay. So I wanted to showcase it. Click on it. All right.
Facebook is read only. So you can receive it. You can respond on Facebook. Or you can respond on YouTube.
Okay. Can you like by typing in? Okay. All right. Okay. Hopefully tonight's chat tonight will come through a lot clearer, not have the internet issues that was going on last night. I changed location. I noticed on my the replay of my videos last night that my that it was lagging. So it looked like the Chinese movies, the kung fu movies, they say, "You never know where your mom at." I'm a nut, y'all. I'm goofy. I'm funny. I like to laugh. I like to make people laugh. Some people tell me I'm corny. So what? I'll just be the corniest corn on the cob. All right. Let me see exactly what time it is here. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to wait for people to come on in, but I don't want to wait too long because those that are maybe watching the replay will have to wait. Well, I mean, I guess they could forward through, right? They could. They could. Okay, they'll figure it out. But welcome into the safe space of my trauma healed life. I am healer Tracy Nicole. Okay. And this is season 1, episode 5 of my trauma healed life. And we are discussing the end of self-betrayal within romantic partnerships. I hope everybody is doing well tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon, or wherever you are in the world, watching live, or if you're watching the replay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I only know how to say hello in another language, Spanish. Hola. Hmm. I'm shaking this thing. I'm trying to reposition my chair. I'm still getting used to sitting and going live. I feel like I'm so far away. Uh, I don't want to start yelling like I'm really trying to talk to y'all wherever y'all at across the world. So I'm taking a sip of tea to calm my nerves. That's a mint medley, y'all. It is so good. Got a little touch of honey in it, but it is so nice and sweet on its own. You don't even need any honey. But I just want a little touch of honey for my throat. If you're coming in, say hey. Let me know you in here. I really, really want to make these podcasts a little bit more, especially the lives particularly, want to make them a little bit more interactive. So say hey. So the thing is, I am streaming live to Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. Hi, Miko. So glad you're here, sis. I'm trying out this streaming software, and I'm trying the free version before I pay for it because I want to make sure it's up to the standards that I need. Okay, and so hey, bestie. So I hope that it's not lagging. Because last night the words were going on, and my voice was what, I don't know which way it was. You heard my voice, and then my mouth moved. Oh, all right. But last night, if anybody tuned in last night, I know Bestie, you tuned in. Of course, Tristan, you tuned in. um, Miko, I'm not sure if you tuned in last night, but you may have caught the replay. But for anybody that tuned in last night or even caught the replay of episode 4, I began to talk and share some of my experience with self-betrayal as it related to my marriage, my previous marriage. I'm no longer married. Just to make sure we got that out there. And there were a lot of things that came out. And one of the things about me doing these lives is I actually don't know exactly what I'm going to say before I start. I don't have too many notes, like an outline, a plan, or anything like that. I have a few things in my mind of what I may want to speak on. So, like, for instance, last night I had or the other night we talked about forgiveness. I had, some notes with definitions and things of that nature because I wanted to go through those. When I get on here, it is my absolute intention and goal to be 100% authentic. Nobody prepared me to be a victim. So therefore, when I am expressing myself and I'm being authentic and I'm doing this on platforms with the intention, the purpose, and the goal of helping other individuals who have experienced been victims of and survived trauma, it's to help the healing after the trauma. So I just like to be authentic and keep it real. And with being authentic and keeping it real, I talked about some things last night and left some details out that I wanted to speak, but I actually started to feel embarrassed. And so we're ending self-betrayal, right? And I'm here to help others heal themselves by being an example. So tonight, in addition to giving some resources, I will be addressing those things that I left out last night, because there's no self-betrayal. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I have nothing to be embarrassed of. I am fully in my power. The only little note that I have here is on this little note card because I needed to make sure I remembered the name of the sites that I wanted to give. Because this live has the potential to go a little long, I feel the need to address a couple things right up front. I feel people. I feel energy. I feel it near. I feel it far. I feel it for the collective. When I say the collective, I mean the community of those who will be drawn to my voice for assistance. I feel you. Whether you've already been on a live, whether we've talked in the past, whether we'll talk in the future, whether we won't, I feel you. And I feel that it's some people right now that will see this video either tonight, tomorrow, but very soon. And these people are in what I'm really feeling is that some people have just recently detached from abusive romantic partnerships. And typically abusers express narcissistic behavior. Not every person that expresses narcissism is an actual diagnosed narcissist. I want to go ahead and give 2 resources right now that assisted me in breaking free from my narcissistic ex-husband. Both are found on YouTube. One is a gentleman, his name is Lee Hammock, and his site is called Mental Healness, Healness. Lee Hammock, look him up. He actually is a a person diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. And he's been in therapy for many, many years, healing himself And then he uses his healing to teach others about narcissism. And what better way to learn about narcissistic behavior from an actual narcissist? Well, a diagnosed narcissist. He's active continually, so look him up. And there's another channel. There's a young lady that I followed. She hasn't posted in a while, but her previous postings are there, and it is full of good, solid information, down to earth. And the name of that channel is Narc Free. NARC Free. FREE. And then I'm going to give you a term. You can go ahead and write it down if you want to. It's called gray walling. You can also look that up on YouTube, even though I am going to explain that a little bit later. If you're in a situation where you feel extremely confused by the abuser, you are feeling crazy, like you know that something is, you know that the thing that you're looking at is exactly what it is, but you have that confusion in your mind. That's that psychological bullshit that the narcissist is putting on you. And these two sites, they give good information that will actually help you right away. Help you to break free. Now, I want to get right into the meat of tonight's subject. Last night, I shared how I betrayed myself at the beginning of the relationship with my ex-husband by not listening to the still small voice inside. When we were sitting at the park on the very first day that we met in person, after we'd been talking on the phone for about 3 weeks, we met in person. And because I had been preparing myself to date with the intention of marriage, I was looking to be married. I wanted to be open and honest. But I heard the still small voice that said, don't share that right now. And I pushed it aside because I was so excited, because the conversation had been so free flowing and everything for 3 weeks. And I'm like, I feel like we're getting ready to go somewhere like really fast. I'm not going to wait and talk about these things. So I pushed my little, I flicked my still small voice to the side. What I learned later on, dealing with a narcissist, which is what he turned out to be, okay? And what I will say is, I will not call him a narcissist. I will not say he was a narcissist. What I would say was he exhibited extreme narcissistic behaviors. What I learned is that they mirror their victim. So if you're nice, he or she will be nice. If you're sharing a story, he or she will share a story that tries to, and they will try to get that story to somehow match your story. But the problem is, they got lies in their story. Their story is not full of truth. I listed a still small voice. And when he shared I shared my issues that I had gone through with my life and where I was at in my life. And yes, I was still healing from some traumas with myself and my children. And so I shared some of that with him. And then he shared with me that there was something that he wished he had told me while we were talking on the phone for those 3 weeks, but he wanted to wait to share it with me in person. Lie number one. Because he said he wanted to share it in person with me because he wanted to be able to look me in my eye. He wanted to look me in my eye to make me feel that he was trustworthy when he really was not. So he shared a story with me in which he let me know that he was a felon and that he went to prison, supposed to have been there for 7 years, got out in 3.5. And he shared with me that he had been set up. And I believed him. Now, I did go and do some research. I looked it up. And all of the basic details of the actual thing that he did was there. It was all online, everywhere. It wasn't something horrible to me. To me, it wasn't. A cannabis-related charge. Who cares? Okay. However, hindsight 2020, and putting little pieces of information together that I was picking up from his family, his friends, there was a point that I realized that he had lied to me. And I actually realized that during our relationship, but I believe it was probably after we were actually married when I realized it. I didn't confront it. But I didn't want to speak that last night because I was embarrassed. But I don't have any reason to feel ashamed. I didn't lie. He did. Don't ever feel ashamed. And if you do, it's okay. Just have some compassion for yourself. And then come back and tell yourself the truth. Tell whoever the truth. So I'm telling you guys. That was the lie that he told at the very beginning of our relationship, that he had to continue to lie the entire time because his family knew that he was really guilty. His friends knew. But he allowed me to want to even advocate for him to clear his name. I mean, I suggested it, just keeping it real, because I believed him. I believed that he was this, good, wholesome person that got caught up, because people do get set up. It happens. It happened to me. I ain't go to jail or anything like that, but somebody tried to set me up for some stuff that I didn't do. So it happens. Every lie after that. I spoke last night about the 2 relationships that he also lied about at the very beginning of the relationship. The reason why he couldn't tell me the truth about those relationships is because those were 2 people that actually supported him during the time that he was serving in prison. Supported meaning communicating with him, sending letters, things of that nature. Yeah. And he didn't want to let those relationships go because they were long-standing relationships. And these were people that he felt that he owed something to. And he really did, because he was lying to them too, leading them on. Now, moving forward a little bit and trying to pick up a little bit from where I left off last night, which I left off in the situation in which I was explaining how that psychological abuse had actually been physical for a while, and I didn't understand it because of what I'd witnessed in my childhood with my mother, being beaten by my stepfather. I had purposed in my mind that I would not be with a man that would put their hands on me. An ex-husband never put his hands on me, but he put his body on me. And the last attack, on June 19th, 2021, actually left me with neck injuries and a possible torn muscle in my shoulder. At some point down the line, I'll get to talking about how trauma gets trapped in the body, and then also how we kind of we overlook things within ourselves because of the way that we have been programmed from experiences from childhood. But just to give a little bit of hints on that, growing up, watching my mother get beat, I never saw her get help. I never heard her talk about how much it was hurting afterwards or anything of that nature. And then when they physically abused me, it was always, shut up, don't cry, you ain't hurting, it doesn't hurt. Psychologically brainwashing me to ignore my own feelings, not just the internal ones, but the external ones. I almost died. Twice due to the neck injury that I received in 2021 as a result of ex-husband not putting his hands on me. Let me let y'all know now, any threat to your safety from another person is a punishable offense. It's considered assault to chest bump. It can actually be considered kidnapping to block a person from leaving a room, a house, a car. Don't be fooled if the hands haven't been laid on you. If a person spit on you, it's assault. And I know I got a little bit of Southern accent here. Assault. I should have called the cops. But I had made up in my mind that I would never call the police on him, because of all the things that he had told me about how going to prison had affected his daughter, and she was living with us. All the stories about how, his aunt was so worried that he was going to do something to get sent back to prison. And when he would tell me these things, I wouldn't understand. I was like, well, if you was set up, why does she keep saying this? Why does she keep thinking that? Oh, aren't you just old? Just worried. That's it. No, that's because auntie knew that you did do the thing that you went to prison for. Mm-hmm. So I had decided that I would never call the police on him. One, I didn't think I would ever have a reason to. That was the beginning of the relationship when I made that decision within myself. Not something I ever even told him, at least I don't think. The other reason was because of all the stuff going on in the news. It's always been going on forever, and that's not a subject I'm really going to get into. But I'm not down with police brutality with melanated people. And I had a situation not long before that where I had to call for assistance for a person of color that was actually having a mental breakdown due to a head injury, a traumatic brain injury. And when I called 911, I asked for the ambulance and told them what was going on. And yes, the person was behaving erratically, but that's because the person's brain was actively bleeding. They found that out when they got the person into the emergency room. But they sent the police instead of the ambulance. And they did not treat that person well. And so as a Black woman, I said I would not do that again. I would find any other way to figure it out. Not calling 911 on nobody again. That was what I said. So that was another reason why I didn't call at the time of the attack 2 years ago. Not to mention, I was so extremely traumatized and being re-traumatized, I was in panic mode. As a person who experiences PTSD, I was in flight, fight, or freeze, and I was in freeze mode with my body. My body was frozen in its spot. I was fighting with my mouth, with my words. And I couldn't leave. I couldn't move. I couldn't even think, call 911. So I didn't call the police. I ended up leaving there and just skipping on down the line. A couple of days before I had gone back to sign those divorce papers during this time where this attack occurred, because of the decisions that I had made in regards to my house, of allowing him to stay with his daughter for a year, and so she could finish her senior year, and then he finds his own place, whatever at that time. I had decided that I was going to go out of the country for a couple months to retreat, to get a break from the entire United States. So I had already booked my tickets. That flight left a few weeks, like 2 weeks after that incident. And I caught my flight and I went to Costa Rica. And it was a fabulous experience and a painful one as well. And lots of people might have thought, oh, she over there having a great time. Oh, I love it, living her best life. No, I ran. I was so happy that I had purchased those tickets when I did. But I was over there hurting and healing. Now, while I was over there, after that incident where he attacked me and my neck flew back and I was pinned up against the desk, my neck was hurting. It was hurting a lot. Didn't think anything of it, just, figured the stress, whatever. Decide to cut my trip short by a few weeks so that I could come back and handle getting my home back, which I'll talk about that in a little bit. Because I realized that he did everything he did just so he could have a house, because it was something he couldn't do for himself by himself. I cut my trip short. Didn't let anybody know because I realized that I had been dealing with someone who had been 25 million steps ahead of me, because he was constantly thinking of ways to push my buttons, ways to get what he wanted, ways to just diabolical ways of doing lots of different things so that he could get what he wanted, feel how he wanted, and do whatever the hell he wanted. And I had to get into a position to get ahead of him now and outsmart him in order to free myself. So I didn't let it be known when I was coming back, except for the people that needed to know to be able to pick me up. And when I got back, I got so ill. I was visiting at my parents', trying to figure out what I was going to do. My dad and stepmom's home. I got so ill, I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat. All of the pain in my neck went all through my head. I had a whole side of my head and face in pain to the point I was literally holding my head and rocking. Had horrible experiences with the hospitals. It took 3 different emergency rooms, and one in which I had a whole attack then. But because I was still dealing with all this, I didn't get the millions from that hospital that I should have gotten. It's another story. But finally get to the VA hospital. My father has taken me, and I'm sitting in a wheelchair and checked in, they told him what's going on. My dad had to speak for me because I couldn't talk because I was in so much pain. And I'm sitting there, and they finally come and get me because one lady's finally, she's like, something is really going on with this young lady. Let me get her back here because I'm screaming out loud in the emergency room, holding my head. I can't even describe the pain. I can't even tell you what it felt like. It was that bad. Get in there, they hurry up, they do the MRI, check my blood, all that kind of stuff. I am septic because I have an infection. They did the MRI because the pain on this left side, because the pain was concentrated over here, and they saw something and they thought it was a skin infection. I'm confused because I had nothing going on the outside of my skin, but all I'm like is just help me, save me. Now, in the hospital, 3-4 days, something like that. They pumping me with the antibiotics and the IV, pain medication, all kind of stuff. I'm still not realizing that was connected to the attack. Now, mind you, I didn't get treatment until the middle of September, 3 months after the attack. Or is that 2 months? Yeah, that's 3 months. July, August, September, 3 months. So they doctor me up. You know, I tell them before I leave the hospital, I still think something is wrong. I still feel nerve pain, even though it had, they got it all down. It was the infection that was causing all the pain, as well as some nerve issues. Okay. The doctors was like, okay, continue to take this medicine, whatever. Did all that. September goes by, October, November, December, January, February, March, April of 2022, May 2022. I get caught outside at night overseas. I'd taken a trip to Turkey. And I got caught out at night, and I was talking to someone, and that cold air rushed in, and all of a sudden, I felt extreme nerve pain in my teeth. So I'm like, oh man, as soon as I get back, which I only had maybe like a week or so before I was returning back to the United States, I was like, I gotta go to the dentist. I go to the dentist when I get back in May. They do all the x-rays and everything, and they show me, they said, oh my goodness, you are infected. So, well, how did I get an infection? My mouth just started hurting a week ago. The pain had deferred. And the pain from what? When he bum rushed me with his chest 2 years ago, and my neck snapped back, my mouth also snapped shut. And I cracked my tooth in the back. And I didn't know it. So I walked around for almost a year with a cracked tooth. But because the pain was deferred, I never felt it in my tooth. The pain was referred to every place else because of the exposed nerve. And then eating and everything else, and things getting into the crack of the tooth that I didn't know was cracked, caused this infection. Got misdiagnosed the first time and went almost a year before the correct diagnosis. And when the dentist said to me, your tooth is cracked, she said, but it's been that way for a while. She could tell. And we sat there for a moment and thought about, and I said, oh my goodness. I realized when it had happened. And I explained that to her. She said, yeah, that can happen. So now I had to go back through getting more treatments, more antibiotics. Now I have to have dental surgeries. I lost a damn tooth. They barely saved the second one. And all this because he did not put his hands on me. Whew. I had a horrible summer last year and a great one. Because it's almost coming up on a year that divorce was finalized. But I almost died because I was infected and it was in my bloodstream. And I was having other issues that I didn't understand was coming from an infection. Yeah. I will never betray myself again and ignore pain. I pay attention to my body. Trauma does get trapped in the body, not just because someone actually did something physically to you, but when you are holding in emotions, when you are holding in your own truth that's trying to come out to spur you to take different action, when that stuff is held inside, it creates dis-ease. So now moving forward, after spending an entire summer pretty much on bed rest, couldn't talk, couldn't eat, the divorce gets finalized. Come on around a few more months. And I started having problems with my right shoulder. And I ignored it. Why did I ignore it? Because of that previous programming from childhood that when I got hit, when I got anything, when any type of way in which I was hurt, I was told, you're not really hurt. You don't feel that pain. Shut up. Stop saying it hurts. Stop saying this. Stop screaming so loud. The neighbors can hear you. So that was ingrained in me as a natural reaction or a natural response for me to ignore my own pain, to ignore myself. But let somebody else be in pain. I'm right there. Hey, what's going on? We got to get you some help. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got what? Ignoring my own self. So I was ignoring the pain in my arm. And I ignored it all the way up until I couldn't use my right arm anymore. Barely use it. I'm right-handed. It was hard to open doors. It was hard to write. It was hard to type. It was hard to do anything. I was having to compensate by overusing the left side. It was not until just a few months ago that I discovered that I actually had neck problems still as well, and a possible torn muscle in my shoulder. I've been waiting for my appointment. It's coming up in a few days to get an MRI. In the meantime, I've been getting my chiropractic treatments, and I've been doing my own self-healing methods that I use at home. But 2 years later, 2 years, still dealing with the after effect of being victimized, attacked. And that is because I was betraying myself. And once again, this is not self-judgment. This is self-accountability, because this is how we heal from the trauma. We have to realize what we are doing to ourselves to either put us in situations, keep us in situations, or keep us in victimhood. Don't ignore your pain. Pain is there for a reason. To let you know that something is wrong in your body. Emotional pain, letting you know something is wrong internally. Something needs to be healed. Something needs to be revealed. Something needs to be elevated. Something needs to evolve. Something needs to grow. That's point number one for tonight. Don't ignore your pain. Don't wallow in it either. Use your pain for purpose. Now I want to shift gears just a tad bit. And I want to talk about this method of gray walling. It's a method that is used to help a person who is dealing with a narcissist, to help them free themselves from the psychological prison the narcissistic behavior, narcissistic abuse can cause. So going back to when I returned from Costa Rica early, in order to retrieve my home and not be homeless anymore. I sought some help from a domestic violence shelter. But they gave advice first, and I was advised on how to return to the city in which I needed to come to, where my home was. And the intention was to file a restraining order and hopefully it be approved. And if I got the restraining order, it would give me my home back. and he would have to leave, and he would have 15 minutes to leave under police escort. That whole experience is another story for another time, but needless to say, that didn't get approved. My request for a restraining order was denied. Now, when I came back into the city, I was afraid because I had no idea what he would try to do, because he had been trying to track me. Come to find out, he had been talking with my stepmom, and she was feeding him information about me and my whereabouts. Yeah, I had to go through that too. And I really was afraid of him. I thought that he would try to kill me if he saw me. Because he went through all the stuff that he went through, all the mental manipulation, the psychological manipulation, the gaslighting, the pathological lying, all of that to get a damn house. You could have stayed living with your sister. Really? In my mind, I don't know what a person will do now, because I don't even know who this person is anymore. Because I never knew who they were, because they never showed me their authentic self in the first place. So I entered back into this city, into the domestic violence shelter with myself and my youngest son. I spent 7 weeks in that shelter. It's a very humbling experience. In order to get my home back, since the restraining order had been denied and he refused to leave, he actually told me, well, you can come and move back in here. This is your home too. And he said it just like that. No, I'm not doing that. Not doing that. So, my house, my mortgage, being the dutiful wife that I was when we bought the house, under my information, my VA loan, I added his name to the deed. But his name wasn't on the mortgage. I had to sell my house to get him out. I had to sell my house to get him out of my home. And so that it could provide me what I needed to be able to go and find a new home. During that time in the shelter, I worked with the counselors. I found me a real estate agent. And within 15 days of that restraining order being denied, the house was on the market with a potential buyer. Some things went on, and it actually did not get sold and closed on until February of the next year. So that was from October of 2021 to February of 2022. But during that time, I had to get the house ready to be sold. I couldn't rely upon him, because if I relied upon him, he would for sure do some things to make sure that nobody wanted to buy the house. I had to be ahead of him and think ahead of him. And I actually had to go to the home to clean it, to get it ready, things of that nature. And it was a dangerous situation. I learned in the domestic violence shelter that the type of person that I was dealing with and the behaviors that he was exhibiting, that he was probably the most violent of them all because extremely unpredictable. One thing that narcissistic abusers will do is make their victim think that they're doing something to them. They'll tell you, they will lie to you and say, no, it's you doing this to me. And then, of course, they're going to lie to other people. They're going to lie to family. They're going to lie to their friends. They're going to lie to anybody they think is going to find out about what they've done. So the first day that I went there, each day, I think I had to go, it took me 3 days that I had to go into that home. And each day with the domestic violence counselor, we set up a safety plan for me to be able to go in, and I had someone with me to be able to go in, and I had video recording going on the entire time. First day I went in, because it's my house, I can go in, I still got the key. I went in unannounced. Scared the shit out of him. Oh well. The next day I went back. He had put up some cameras inside of the house facing the door. Okay. This is my home. I'm coming to clean and get the house ready for the real estate agent to come in and take pictures. I used a method called gray walling. And let me tell you something. It works. And it worked. See, the narcissist is always trying to be in your head, trying to figure out what you're doing so that they can try to figure out how to manipulate you in order to get you to do what they want you to do or not do what they don't want you to do. Get their way, period. That's what all the talk is, the manipulation, the backwards talk, the sweet talking, the charming, the all of it. That's what it is. So the way that you use the gray walling method is you have to make yourself uninteresting. It seems like something very simple. And also, upon hearing it, it seems like, what? It's not going to work. But I listened to the counselor because this counselor has had years and years and years and years of experience with victims of domestic violence, dealing with narcissistic abusers, psychological abusers, gaslighters, manipulators. So I listened. She told me, look it up. She told me what it was, and then she said, go look it up. Go look it up on YouTube. They got a few videos. Just listen to it. I listened to it. You make yourself uninteresting by literally looking at the gray pavement, the roadway, and settling yourself into that. and putting your mind only on a gray pavement, not thinking about anything else. Because they're trying to get in, they're trying to read your energy. And listen, don't think narcissists don't have the ability to read energy and read people. That's how they manipulate. They're just using their gift for the wrong reasons. So I gray walled. I went in there. Hello? As discussed, I'm here to clean and get the house ready. Now all of a sudden he wants to be helpful. He said, would you like what can I do? Whatever you would like to do. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then I was quiet. I didn't focus on him. I kept that gray wall up in my mind, and I did what I needed to do in the house. And when I tell you that probably 6 times he came to me, I literally watched him go and come ask me a question, and he didn't get the response out of me that he wanted. He went back to the room, and he sat in his room, and he tried to think of the next thing to say. So then he came out, and he tried to be nice. Oh, there's some bottles of water over here. If you want some water, help yourself to anything in the refrigerator. Yeah. Thank you. And I kept it moving. He went back again. Because I'm watching him, expression on his face. He's confused. Because to everything, I was just like, okay. Thank you. Okay. He was confused. Finally, after about 4 or 5 times of him going to the bedroom, thinking, trying to figure out something else to provoke me, then he would come back out, say it, he just get it okay, then he'd go back again. Now, this last time he came back with a little card about, the neighborhood donations truck coming around. And if you caught my live, I guess yesterday, I talked about how he had thrown some items of mine away. He gave them away to the donation truck. So back to the day where I'm at the house cleaning and I use the gray wall method, he brought me a card and he was like, hey, they got the donation truck coming around again. If there's anything here, that you don't want, you can possibly put it out there for the donation truck. Like what I did with your grandson's car seat, last year. Whoo. When he threw it away that year before, he tried to make it seem like it was a mistake. And then this time he let me know that he did it on purpose. And the reason why he let me know he did it on purpose, because he was trying to provoke me. And I'm not going to lie, that was the last straw. I dropped that mop where I was standing in the middle of the kitchen. I called my videographer over and I said, we'll be back. I left for 2 hours. Sure, I had to go call my cousin, talk to my cousin. I might even call back to the shelter, talk to the counselor as well. I think I did that day. Sat in the car, upset, crying, trying to pull myself together. I didn't want to come back another day. I wanted to go back, finish what I needed to finish, so I never had to be in his presence again. Got myself together. By the time I came back, that man had wore himself out to the point he was asleep. Finished what I needed to finish. Got up on out of there. Safe and sound. Now, I'm not suggesting you in a situation like that, you just go and do that. No, go. You need assistance. If you are a victim of abuse from a narcissistic abuser, you need assistance to leave that relationship. If you are wanting to leave it and you are trying to leave it, get some assistance. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Look it up online. That's all you got to call. And they will put you in touch with local resources. They will give you advice on what to do. I was so confused after his attack in June 19th of 2021. I was so confused of that attack that when I decided I was going to call the National Abuse Hotline. I called them and I told them what was going on. I said, I think I'm a victim of domestic violence. And when I told them what happened, they said, you absolutely are. And because you tried to leave, you were wanting to leave, that was the absolute most sensitive and dangerous time for you as a victim. And that is when most abusers will attack. And often those victims get killed by said abuser. So please seek help, seek guidance. I'm sharing my story so you don't feel alone. I'm speaking my truth so you don't have to feel ashamed. There's a lot of us out here that this happened to. Different experiences. Some of our experiences look the same, some don't. So I'm speaking. It is possible to free yourself from an abusive partnership. That's number one. It is possible to free yourself. It is possible to free yourself. It is possible to free yourself. How does song go? Free your mind and the rest will follow. Yeah. I know the song probably talking about something else, but that part of it, free your mind and the rest will follow. Get help. Ask for help. Victims sometimes, a lot of times, have issues asking for help because of feeling ashamed. But if you want to be free, love yourself enough to not care about what anybody thinks. So these three resources, actually I gave you 4 resources tonight, and I want to reiterate them. If you are in an abusive relationship, if you are unsure and you think you might be in an abusive relationship, because psychological abuse is unseen. But the advocates and the professionals that have been dealing with this for years, they know the signs. and they can help you. National Domestic Violence Hotline. Look it up online. Number is right there. Call it. There's no judgment. It's compassion, empathy, and sound advice. You want to understand the mind of a narcissist and how they do the things that they do to you so that you can figure out how to get out of that situation and to also learn some things so that you don't go back into other situations and relationships with other narcissists. You got to heal those areas within you that were attached to that abuse prior so that you don't repeat the cycle. So that you don't invite that into your life again. Two YouTube channels, Mental Illness with Mr. Lee Hammock. And the other channel is Narc Free, N-A-R-C Free, F-R-E-E. Yeah, my tea is cold now. But before I jump off of here, I just want to pull another card for tonight. African Goddess Rising Oracle deck. I've used this deck to bring me lots of encouragement and advice and empowerment because the messages are very empowering, and especially for women. So the card that popped out is Oshun, Fearless Love. It's a number 25 card, meaning the number 25 is on the deck there. And I deal with numerology. When you break that number down, 2 and 5, you break it down by adding the numbers together. 2 plus 5 equals 7. And 7 is a number for ending cycles. And then it's also a number for victory. Because when you end a cycle, you become victorious in a new beginning. Fearless love. Y'all got to put my little trusty reading glasses on. Don't laugh at me. I'm forever 25. You understand? Forever. Oshun's guidance here says, dare to love. Begin with loving yourself. Allow yourself to be loved. You feel everything deeply. You are porous with a wall around your heart. This is your paradox. To embody this guidance of Oshun, it says here, you are love. And you are worth loving. Your divine assignment is to remain open to fearless love. You deserve to be loved in your language. You are worthy of a love that remembers your beauty at your ugliest moments. Don't let your unhealed past, don't allow your unhealed past to block your future. You heal yourself by loving yourself. Real love is a sacred contract that says, I am vulnerable and committed. Your heart is safe with me. Let's expand our consciousness together. If you're with somebody and you don't feel that your heart is safe, you won't be expanding consciousness together. You won't be growing together. You'll be hurting together. But say that to yourself. Real love to yourself. I am vulnerable and committed to myself. My heart is safe with me. Let me expand my consciousness. And the Goddess Declaration says, I give love, I receive love, and I am love. And on that lovely note, we're going to end with my affirmation that I say daily, sometimes multiple times a day. I love and accept myself unconditionally, no matter who, no matter what. I am Tracy Nicole. Tracy meaning brave and courageous. Nicole meaning victor of the. I love you. I wish you vitality. I wish you self-compassion. I wish you safety in your physical environment. I wish you safety and security in your inner environment. And I speak to you and I activate you today by telling you to use your choice muscle and choose to love yourself first, unconditionally. I love you. To life and light. See you tomorrow. Good night.